This is a story about two thieves that changed the world. These thieves lived a long time ago in a world very different from ours. Our thieves hail from the Byzantine Empire, which is kind of like the less popular sequel to the Roman Empire. They are monks, clothed in wool robes with bellies full of stale bread. Wool was standard issue for Byzantine commoners in the 6th century. The people of that day were forced to make do with what they had, and what they had were a lot of sheep. There was another option, though, for those rich enough. A very special material, so rare it could only be found in one place in the whole world. A material so valuable, empires threw heaps of gold and sent merchants across thousands of miles just to have it. The demand was so high that the Roman Senate tried to ban its use by commoners due to the vast amounts of gold leaving the empire. The Emperor of China attempted to ensure only he was allowed to wear clothes made of the material. Both were unsuccessful. The material was too sought after. The production of the material was one of the closest guarded secrets in history. Silk. You may be thinking, silk? Why of all things would people care that much about silk? Well, believe it or not, silk has a lot of uses besides making nice bed sheets. It is breathable in the warm weather, so it keeps you cool in the summer, but is also naturally insulating, so it keeps you warm in the winter. It's very handy in a world without air conditioning. Records of silk being used for instruments, bows, and fishing poles date back to 300 BCE, and in the 2nd century BCE, silk began being used to make the world's first luxury paper. Its origins date back even further, however, so far into antiquity, in fact, that it becomes a myth. What we do know is, the ancient Chinese people learned the method of silk production, known as sericulture, and kept it a closely guarded secret for thousands of years, holding a complete monopoly on silk trade throughout the ancient world. Enter two monks. Their names are lost to history, but their quest would change the world. While preaching Christianity in India, they made their way to China in 551 CE and observed the intricate process of raising silkworms and producing silk. At the time, the West believed silk was produced in India. This was a huge development and a very important piece of information. It was the potential to destroy a 3,000-year-old monopoly. The monks returned to Constantinople, the capital of the empire, and presented their information to Emperor Justinian. No one in the West had ever observed the process of sericulture before. They proposed to him a plan: to return to China and smuggle silkworms back to the West. It was a bold plan. China had held complete control over silk for all of known history, and every year the empire shelled out heaps of gold for it. If the monks were successful, it would disrupt global silk trade and allow the empire to create its own monopoly. The exact route they took is unknown, but no matter what, it was far. They would likely have taken the Silk Road, which, based on the name, should tell you how much people cared about silk. The Silk Road was an interconnected system of land and sea trade routes that did include items besides silk and covered over 4,000 miles. They most likely traveled a northern route across the Black Sea, then crossing the Trans-Caucasus to the Caspian Sea. From there, they would pass through many towns and cities, steep mountain passes, and arid deserts until they finally laid eyes upon the subject of their quest, the mulberry fields of China, home to one of the most valuable materials in the world. Grown silkworms are delicate and must be kept at consistent temperatures. It is very unlikely any live silkworms could survive a journey back to Constantinople. Instead, the monks opted to steal silkworm eggs. The eggs were kept in large storehouses on silk farms and were relatively easy to steal. Most people outside of China would not know what to do with silkworm eggs if they had them. It was the process of sericulture that was so heavily guarded. Still, anyone caught stealing secrets relating to silk would be harshly punished. In order to smuggle the eggs out of China unnoticed, the monks would have to get through many security checkpoints, checking for thieves of silk knowledge. The eggs would not go unnoticed. So, to ensure the eggs made it past the checkpoints, the monks hid them inside hollowed-out bamboo canes. It was risky, but the monks were successful in smuggling the eggs out of China. After nearly a 2-year journey, the monks stood before Emperor Justinian once more and presented to him the key to a Western silk monopoly. From the stolen silkworm eggs and the knowledge of the monks, the Byzantine Empire was able to break its dependence on China for silk and create its own silk monopoly. The monopoly was so successful that it created the foundation of the empire's economy until its collapse in the year 1204. In fact, silk is still growing there today. While this is a very cool story, no one actually knows for sure how silk production made it to the West. However, this story is one of the most popular theories and is one of the coolest, I think. Thanks for tuning in to Weird Universe, and make sure to subscribe for more weekly videos.